Does a fast metabolism lead to early death? Do you want to have a fast metabolism or a slow metabolism? Well, let me give you a little analogy here. If you have a candle and it burns very bright, does it last a long time? Generally not. How about cars? If you drive a car really fast and hard all the time, does it last a long time? Well, generally not. So there's some good things that go with a fast metabolism, but there's some bad things as well. So here's the question: is a slow metabolism good for a long life? Is that what we need to aim for? Well, support for this theory has been bolstered by studies linking a lower basal metabolic rate. So if your pulse is low, you tend to have a longer life expectancy. If we look at animals, the turtle lives a long time. And what's the pulse of a turtle? 25 beats per minute. Now, how about the rabbit? What's the pulse for a rabbit? 160 beats per minute, and they only live about 10 years. So there's a lot of support for maybe we want to have a lower basal metabolism, and that is closely connected with your pulse. So that's just one way to know what your metabolism is doing. So you can simply check your pulse, and I encourage everybody to do this. We know that the higher the pulse, the higher your metabolism. If someone has hyperthyroidism, usually their pulse is really high, metabolism's really high. But with a higher pulse, we get increased cardiovascular disease, increased all causes of mortality, and that is even in apparently healthy people. In general, we don't want to have a fast pulse. And anything over 65 starts to concern me because that's where more problems tend to occur. In fact, every 10 beats per minute above 65 leads to a 10 to 20% increase in risk for death. And if your pulse happens to be 90 beats per minute or more, you have a 200% increase in mortality for men and a 300% increase in cardiovascular disease risk with women. We also know that if you diet and lose weight, your metabolism does slow down. So does losing weight slow down your metabolism? In this study, they said absolutely, and we know that it does. But that's not all bad. Now, slowing down your metabolism too much, as in The Biggest Losers, they lost a lot of weight but did it incorrectly, slowed down their metabolism tremendously, and that made it a lot harder to keep the weight off. So we don't want to do that. But a slower metabolism has benefits. In this study in 2017, they took rats and they used diet to slow down their metabolism. And what did they find? The stunting of their growth apparently increased their total lifespan. So they lived longer with a slower metabolism. And there are some things that occur with a slowing of the metabolism. We get less oxidative damage, and that tends to help us live longer. Calorie restriction is one way to help slow down the metabolism, and it helps mostly by benefiting your mitochondria. If you want to do something to improve longevity and life, anything you can do to improve mitochondria is helpful. Our results suggest that calorie restriction induces biogenesis of efficient mitochondria as an adaptive mechanism, which in turn lowers oxidative stress. So when you restrict calories, you make mitochondria that are more efficient. They don't produce as many waste products. Taken together, these data suggest that calorie restriction improves whole body energy efficiency by inducing biogenesis of mitochondria that utilize less oxygen and produce less free radicals. So that's good. Another study, this is a 2-year calorie restriction study, And they found that it supports the theories that it increases longevity because there's less oxidative damage. Again, mitochondria are benefited. There's a group in America called the Crone group, Calorie Restriction with Optimal Nutrition. And they follow some significant restrictions of calories, and what they have found is that they tend to live longer. The calorie study was the first human study restricting calories, and they aimed for restricting calories by 25%. Now, it didn't end up getting that. They ended up getting about 15% calorie restriction. But what happened to their visceral fat? It went down significantly for 12 months, and it stayed down there. But that's not the only benefit of restricting calories. They saw cholesterol improve, triglycerides improve, HOMO-IR, which is a marker of insulin sensitivity. It means their insulin's working better, improves significantly, and blood pressure went down. Every marker improves when you restrict calories. So the calorie restricted group were normal people, which means a good number of them were overweight, and 80% of them achieved their ideal weight. On the control group, doing nothing, what happened? Well, they became more overweight. Now, this study always pops up. In fact, I read an article by a newsletter from a doctor who I respect, and he had a guest writer write an article on metabolism, and they're saying you want a fast metabolism, you don't want a slow metabolism, and they pointed to this study. Now, it was done by a group of conscientious objectors during World War II, and they decided to semi-starve themselves to death to protest the war. They restricted calories by 50%, and here's the key. They weren't overweight to begin with. They ended up losing 25% of their body weight and looked like this. So, restricting calories when you don't have any body fat in the first place and doing it inappropriately can have some negative consequences. Again, they weren't overweight, they restricted calories a lot, and their blood pressure went down significantly, too low. They lost their libido, menstrual irregularities were apparent in the females, infertility, osteoporosis, cold sensitivity, loss of strength and stamina, and depression. Calorie restriction done incorrectly and done on the incorrect people is not good. Another study, this is the Calorie 2 random clinical control style study, looked at quality of life, mood, sleep, and sexual function in healthy, non-obese individuals. They weren't obese, but they were overweight. Again, the calorie restriction ended up being about 15%, and what happened? Improved mood, reduced tension, improved general health, improved sex drive and relationships, and improved sleep. Everything improved. Now, they didn't cut the calories down that much. I want you to get this. 2,126 was the baseline starting point. They just lowered it about 300 calories, and even less the second year. That's like cutting out a snack bag of chips, and they had all of those benefits. But did the benefits last? Were these people able to keep the weight off? Significantly. About 50% of the people kept the weight off and maintained it for 2 years. Now, that's very good results, and it's probably because they got good at restricting calories. And that's exactly what we do on the 7 Systems Plan. We help you to get good at restricting calories. What happens to cravings when you restrict calories? Now, I've got my class here. You guys know this. When you restrict calories and when you eat correctly, that's a key. Overall food cravings go down, sweet cravings go down, high-fat cravings go down, starch cravings go down, fast food cravings go down. Everything improves. So if you'd like some simple tests to see where your metabolism is, check your pulse. Now, I want your pulse to be less than 65. That's ideal. Check your morning temperature. First thing when you get up, I want it to be around 98.6. Higher than that, maybe a faster metabolism. slower than that, maybe too low of a metabolism. And you can also have a BIA test, bioimpedance analysis test. If you're in our area, give us a call and we'll run this test on you. But it will tell you your basal metabolic rate and how many calories you burn per day. So for longevity and great health, I want you to practice healthy calorie restrictions, restrict them in the right way, maintain a healthy metabolism, don't restrict calories too much, do it correctly, and follow the 7 Systems plan. Our course has a lot of great information, and you can find that at 7systemsplan.com.